in the woods, cardio is key. Welcome, everybody, to my out of reaction thoughts, my non-spoilers. I got to see a movie earlier that is actually coming out this weekend, but I wanted to post my review up because it was at a film festival and everybody else has a non-spoiler review. I will do a spoiler review because I really think this needs a spoiler review, but let's talk about the new film In a Violent Nature. So what is In a Violent Nature? And remember, this is non-spoiler review. If you have seen this, do not spoil it in the comments. What's up, Janie Davis? So In a Violent Nature is made by Canadian director Chris Nash and is described as an ambient slasher. Hello, Jenny Godden. Good to see you here. And so what is an ambient slasher? Have you ever wondered what it was like for Jason or Michael hunting their victim? That's this movie. Holy shit. So I'm going to get to my good, my bad, my ugly in the case of this film, but I'm going to say this right now. Don't go into this movie expecting that it's going to be you seeing Jason or Michael Myers killing people, okay? The camera perspective of this movie is from the killer's perspective. You are literally following the killer like a found footage, but more cleanly done. It's solely from the perspective of the killer. And where that's a good thing is it's a unique, fresh, interesting take. Where it's a bad thing, picture watching somebody walk for about 45 minutes with nothing but the sound of nature. I was fucking falling asleep at certain parts. And not because the movie's bad, but because this is a serial killer stalking people in the woods, sometimes during the day, sometimes at night. And you follow the whole cycle. And it's the birds chirping, crickets going like, drink coffee, do not have any alcohol, don't smoke anything. Like, you literally need to be fully focused on this movie or you will fall asleep, because it is a very, and I know that's weird to say, because it's a very relaxing movie. Which I never thought I would say. I will give the director one thing. It is the most unique horror movie I've ever seen. Although an absorbently long amount of this movie is the killer walking. Most of the exposition and the background we get from the killer is literally from the killer listening to people talk about him as he's trying to hunt them, which I thought was an interesting touch. So instead of getting the old scary guy who gives you every fucking detail about the killer, you have the killer looking at the old creepy guy telling the young people trying to escape from the killer what the story of the killer is. So, this is going to be out on May 31st on Shudder. It stars Ray Bartlett as Johnny, Andrei Pavlik as Chris, Cameron Love as Colt, Reese Presley as the Ranger. I swear to God, that's their name in the movie. They're literally called the Ranger. They do not have a name. Because the movie is shot from the point of view that you're only following the killer, how he interprets things is how you're following the story. I sometimes think Michael's people he kills are sometimes random until you realize he's after certain people. Yes, this one you have no doubt because the camera follows the killer. So it's a very methodically slow, very, very slow movie. So what is the movie about? There is this killer called Johnny. And the best way I can describe him is he is a legend, very closely, like, I would say that this is more Jason than Michael Myers. It's right down to the mask, the style of weaponry that he chooses. I don't want to tell you too much because I really don't want to give most of it away, and I'm trying to find a better synopsis here because I don't want to spill too much info on it. But it is. Let me see if this has a better. I thought there was a good synopsis, but I really don't want to give anything away. But let's just say Johnny is a he is hold on. Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can find it. All right, so the central part is about a young group of friends at a camp that are camping in the Canadian wilderness when they stumble across something strange in the woods, a golden locket hanging from a ruined fire tower. Yeah, that's pretty true. And one of them makes a mistake of taking the locket, which starts them down this path. So, yeah, basically, and this isn't a spoiler, this is just setting up the story because there's a lot more stuff that is tied into what everything is. But I thought the story around the killer was very fascinating. It reminded me a lot of Jason, where Jason Lives, where at the end he was like blown up and then thrown in a grave, and then very stupidly he put the lightning rod into Jason and brought him back to life in the most contrived and ridiculous reason ever. But fuck it, I love Jason, so fuck you. I think it's great. Anyways, that's not the point. But I kind of got a flavor of that in here. My other less of a complaint that I've been saying about a lot. This is not a 2-hour movie. It's about 90 minutes. I will warn you, though, it does feel really long because a good majority of this film is going to be this killer walking. So, my cons, there is so much goddamn walking in this movie. There is an exorbitant amount of fucking walking. And look, I get what they're going for because this isn't found footage per se, but it's shot very much like found footage. And what I mean by that is found footage is normally towards the POV of some idiot who's running around a camera. For some reason that's still on and he's recording everything and it's all shaky. This is a very steady camera, but instead of using the found footage method, they use what's called over the shoulder. So the camera is about shoulder weight, and it's almost like the camera is following him as opposed to we are following the killer's perspective. So it's like somebody is literally behind the killer as they're doing what they're doing, which gives you the illusion of you are following the killer's steps. And I never thought I'd say this, but goddamn, Jason's job must be fucking boring because I shit you not, it's at least 45 minutes into this film before you get a real, like, gory kill. And don't get me wrong, there are some fucked up kills. Like I said, this is non-spoilers. I'm not going to get into details, but be on the lookout. You'll know what I mean. You'll know when you see it. There is I would say it would have to be my favorite kill I've seen in a horror movie. It was very creative, very bloody, very fucked up. But 90% of this movie is the walking. So the issue I think people are going to have with this film is that if you don't enjoy landscapes and you don't enjoy following a person walking in nature, or you're not a very nature person, such as myself, I prefer the indoors. As you see, I'm inside right now. I'm inside my car. I'm inside the theater. I'm not really the outdoorsy type. Now, don't get me wrong. This is the best way for me to explore the outdoors, but Jesus Christ, man. Like, you hear mosquitoes buzzing, you hear them landing, you hear birds, you see deer. And I can't fault the film and say it's poorly shot because the nature shots that are being shown are gorgeous. The cinematography in this movie is simply outstanding. Everything's crisp and clear. I could see everything that was going on. I could see all the people. I could definitely see the violence. And they did switch eventually from the third-person perspective to, like, regular movie perspective, you know, shown from all of the POVs at a certain point. But I think this is a very acquired film, and I would be super careful before seeing this and know you're in for more of an art film than a horror film. This, to me, is a very, like, A24 artistic type of movie as opposed to how it was kind of marketed, which is a slasher like Friday the 13th. It is not. It doesn't have enough forward momentum to really be a slasher, and it's not trashy enough to be a B-rated slasher, and it's not artsy enough to be an art house film. So it's kind of in a weird middle place. I'll say one thing, it is fucking unique, and I will give them credit for that. It is the most unique film I've seen for 2024, and for that, my rating is higher. And maybe I'm kind of crazy here, and maybe it's because I have a huge bias to Jason, like that's one of my favorite franchises of all time. I'm going to give this film a 9 out of 10. Because of the fact that it hit a lot of nostalgia. Now, why it's not perfect for me is because there's a lot of fucking walking. I will rewatch this again, but honest to God, I will fast forward through some of this shit because they're like the first time you see it, it's kind of mystifying, but I can't picture rewatching this and watching fucking Bill, Dave, you out there? Dave, Bill, you out there? That was him running. I hope I did a good impression. You will fucking laugh if you watch this movie because literally those sounds you heard, that is the sound you hear. I mean, I'm not a fucking mic or, don't have those sounds on a fucking mix box or whatever, but that's basically the gist of this film. In a nutshell. I'm sorry. Let me read some of these comments. At General Zod's Phantom Zone, I think the over-the-shoulder was the only way to do it. Yes, I do agree. Full POV. It would be too much, especially running scenes. It'd be like you'd be jarring like this. And thank you. I'm glad you find that hilarious. But anyways, overall, I give it a 9 out of 10, despite me shitting on some of that. And the reason why is because, one, I will give a point for creativity, even though I took one away because I don't fucking like nature. And this is feels like a nature documentary with a serial killer. But two, I will give points for one of the most creative kills I've ever seen. And I will do spoilers, but next week, when this movie has had a chance to come out and people have had a chance to watch it, I might do a spoiler review and tell you all of the kills and then really break down the stuff that I liked. But for a non-spoiler, I will say when he gets to killing, some of them feel very much like Jason, but there is one in particular. Be on the lookout for it. And trust me, I know what you're thinking. Zod, I'm supposed to be looking for one kill? How do I know it? Trust me, when you see it, you'll know. Then you come back in my comment section and you go, holy shit, I agree, or it was okay. But I'm telling you, when you see it, it's one of the things that, and that's why I give this another high rating, is because it's one of those things where the creative, to me at least, and look, I feel like a lot of reviewers are going to be split on this, along with a lot of people. I think everyone's going to vary. But for me, I have seen so much shit come out, and I've seen a lot of creative stuff. And this movie falls square in the middle for me, where it's just creative enough to be something I haven't seen, but they do a lot of stuff I've already seen to kind of make it familiar. And for a movie like this, it doesn't have to be that great of an art think piece, but the fact that they go the extra mile to try to give the killer an interesting backstory, shoot it uniquely, and just that I haven't gotten fucking Jason in 15 years now, this is a nice little substitute. Now, Jason is coming back. They're releasing a show, and I will be doing a watch-along / probably review on the new HBO Max show coming out called Camp Crystal Lake. Woo! Thank you. It's been so many years. But they're going to do a bunch of Jason stuff, which I will be covering everything on this channel. I've been fucking waiting for a new Jason movie. But in the meantime, if you're a Jason fan like me, if you like Friday the 13th, and you want to see what it must be like to live a day in the life as Jason Voorhees watch this movie, because this made me realize how fucking annoying it is chasing people who are running. Holy shit. It is hilarious because this is like being a fly on the wall, and you've always asked the question, why doesn't he run? How does he catch up to people? And this movie actually vaguely answers that, believe it or not. Like I said, no spoilers. And when I do spoilers, I'll do a breakdown because there's literally some funny shit. And I give the filmmakers credit for that they actually thought of this like everyone thinks. Why does everyone trip? How does Jason teleport somewhere and just wind up behind the person? This is like if you went to Vegas and the magician showed you the tricks and you go, oh shit, that's how that's done. This is kind of like what that felt like without giving too much of the mystery away, but it was just enough where there was a lot of funny shit I wasn't expecting them to do in this movie, where I was like, oh, I see what you're doing right there. I gotcha. Yeah, I wouldn't call this a comedy. It's not really set like that. I would more say it's, if you're going to go that route, it's more of a black comedy, because the comedy, you feel like you shouldn't laugh. You're really laughing because as a horror fan or watching slashers, you know what's happening. You're like, I've seen that. And I appreciate the directors actually like taking the time to kind of think about the genre, and I definitely think they're fans or they are influenced by Friday the 13th, or maybe like to roast it, because a lot of this movie is like them setting things up and how everything happens is just like a Jason movie. But like I said, 90% of the time you're over his shoulder. So you get to see when he gets his tools, when he's listening to people talk about him, when he's planning stuff, and how he teleports from one place to another. So I appreciate that. And that's why I give this a 9 out of 10. This is probably super high. I'm going to preference that right now. I'm going to also preference this by saying, because there's a lot of fucking assholes who come and go, oh, everything can't be a 9 or 10. Why would you rate this higher than this? Look, this is my personal preference as far as horror goes. I grew up, one of the first movies I watched wasn't Halloween. It was actually Friday the 13th, and then I saw Halloween. So I've always held a special place in my heart for Friday the 13th. I met Kane Hodder, and he signed a butcher knife for me. And by the way, Kane Hodder is super fucking short, but I'd never tell him that because he's super fucking scary in real life. He's like built like a fucking truck. But I met him, and he was a super cool guy. And I met some of the people who shot the Jason Lives and the one with the fucking psychic. I can't remember. There's so many of them. But I met the directors, and I also met the Danny, what the fuck was her name? She was young child actor. She was in Halloween. What the fuck for? I have to think of it, but I also met her too. And it was super cool. I've been to a lot of horror conventions and things like that. And I've always loved Jason, so I'll always grade on a curve for Jason kind of movies like this. I even love the remake that Michael Bay made, because Michael Bay didn't really make it. He just produced it. Everybody sees Michael Bay's name and they're like, he did it. He didn't make the fucking movie. It was a different director. He just produced and funded it. But I love that one too. I love the fact that he hauled fucking ass. So it is what it is. I remember an episode of Doogie Howser where a friend praised the originality of the combination. Yes. Halloween Kills, I really loved. Halloween Ends, not so much. So anyways, this has been a longer review than I wanted to, but my rating is 9 out of 10. I do enjoy this film. If you want to see something that's Jason-esque, you want to kind of get a peek behind how a serial killer would operate, and if you want to see a film with lots of fucking walking, drink coffee, lace up your boots, and this weekend go check out In a Violent Nature. This movie is kind of an independent film, so it's playing in select theaters. So make sure to check your box office that the theater near you has a showing of this. Thank you everybody for watching. If you like this video, click the like button, click the share and subscribe, and remember, everybody here in the Phantom Zone, there is only one rule: kneel before General Zod. And goodbye, and thank you, Janie Davis.